right, cue up my audio again, Mr. Yusuf. So the State of the State address, which we carried right here on 95.3 MNC, was happening yesterday. Governor Holcomb, of course, giving his chat. And Governor Holcomb is super totally convinced, folks, that vaping is bad, okay? So this is what he's had to say about contributing to selling tobacco or vape products to anybody under the age of 21.
Our message has not changed. If you peddle illegal substances to our kids, we're coming after you.
Yes, peddle illegal substances to our kids, we're coming after you. Okay, yeah, whatever. Anyway, Governor Eric Holcomb also pledged to free up millions more to increase teacher pay in Indiana. Though, if you were to read the local papers, you would be remiss in that not being highlighted, because they're all saying, "Oh, you got to wait another year again." Holcomb says to wait a year again. Well, yeah, because he just gave you tens of millions of dollars to do that, like just recently. So yeah, you have to wait until they do the next budget to be able to get that money. But, far be it from me to get in the way of a journalist narrative, okay? So anyway, this is Governor Holcomb talking about the teacher pay thing.
My mother was a teacher, and I saw how hard she worked. Teaching to her was not a job, but more like a calling. I'd go so far as to say a gift. And from the many conversations I've had with teachers all across our state, I know they feel exactly the same way.
All right. So, again, the narrative from reporters are that he's telling everybody to wait. Yeah, he has to wait. That's kind of how these budgetary processes work. We budget for 2 years and then we have to wait. And then you budget for 2 years and then you have to wait. It's kind of how it works. And he released all of that extra funding from the rainy day fund to go ahead and increase teacher salary. Now, what has happened is some school systems have not yet doled that out, okay? They haven't done it yet. So it's on them. Now, in this area, Mishawaka did it pretty early. Penn also did it pretty early. South Bend, I don't remember if South Bend did it before vacation or not, but they know that they were getting ready to do it kind of behind everybody else. So it's, again, and that's just locally, obviously, it's now in the hands of the school systems themselves. So if the school systems themselves are going to start doling it out now, it's not their fault and it's not the governor's fault that it's taken so long to get to you. He also had some announcements during last night's State of the State address. This is what Governor Holcomb had to say about some new business coming to Indiana.
I'm pleased to announce tonight that Fiat Chrysler has chosen Indiana for diversification and will invest nearly $400 million in its Kokomo facility. And later this week, I look forward to going down to Princeton for another special Toyota announcement. Congratulations, gentlemen, and thank you for choosing Indiana.
No big surprise there. Indiana still considered the best state to do business in the Midwest. That is something that it is retained for several years in a row now. That is still the truth, according to the surveys anyway. Also addressed the whole hands off your cell phone bit. We're going with this hands-free stuff. That's always been bouncing around. Got some new laws going into effect with that as well. This is the governor on that.
Distracted driving increases the risk of a crash by 3.5 times. And it is a leading killer of teenagers in our country. This is unacceptable and avoidable.
By the way, teenagers, while it is a leading cause of death for teenagers, they're not the highest demographic to use their cell phones while driving and to get in an accident. Just thought I would throw that out there, according to the data we went over a few weeks back. So, okay, it's a lot of platitudes. It's a lot of the same old stuff, right? A State of the State is generally not very exciting. That's why it doesn't get the coverage that a national debate would get, or a presidential debate, or a State of the Union address. There's a lot more going on with the State of the Union address. But with the State of the State, it is what it is. And for the most part, people are looking at it because they wanted to hear maybe what was going to happen with vaping and tobacco with the new laws going into effect. And then, of course, they wanted to hear what was going to happen with teacher salaries and pay, because that's the big buzz issue at this point in time. And like I said, Indiana it depends on the district when you're looking at teacher pay. This is one of those states where I see teacher pay very widely, compared to other states where, generally speaking, you go to a lot of other states and the state has kind of like set parameters. It's not that way in Indiana. So in Indiana, things are different. It's basically determined by the school district themselves, and there's not a lot of state reach into that. But they just released, again, tens of millions of dollars to go ahead and raise teacher pay. The districts are now responsible for doling that out. Many of them are taking their sweet time doing it. And, of course, the governor, Republicans, and everybody else in the Capitol are getting the blame for that. But it's not their fault. They did release that. Then we had this, was it 219 or 216 million? I forget which one. I'm trying to remember off the top of my head that we had from this tax. Isn't it interesting that we have this extra $200 million, Joe, in property tax revenue? But they keep telling us that the lack of property taxes is why the schools aren't funded. So how do we get an extra $200+ million from it? Oh, because they're lying to you. That's why. So anyway, the other thing, this is a debate that was happening in the legislature. Democrats proposed using that extra 200 and some odd million dollars to go ahead and give a one-time bonus to teachers that would be divided evenly throughout the state. And the budget director, I forget his name, I apologize, said, you know what? Yeah, that sounds good, but it just so happens we have several university projects that we are paying for right now. And wouldn't it be nice if we could just pay cash for them and not have to pay an extra $135 million just in interest charges? So instead of just paying 200 some odd million dollars for it, we could be paying $700 or $800 million for these projects if we don't pay cash for them. So maybe we could just go ahead and just pay the cash now and not have to worry about that interest payment. And that frees up the budget in the future to actually have a measure to go ahead and add in for teachers' pay. So I believe that was the more fiscal, reasonable thing to do. But again, there's a lot of people who don't understand budgetary issues, and they look at it and they go, well, I want this now. Well, that's cool. I'm glad that you want it now. I want a Jeep Gladiator, but I can't afford it. Hey, am I still driving that piece of crap out there, Joe? Yep, still driving the piece of crap because I can't afford the Jeep Gladiator. That's how it goes. Lynn, welcome to the program. Good afternoon.
Hi, Casey. How are you doing today?
Doing well. What's up?
In the speech, the governor mentioned about the $400 million from Fiat Chrysler and Toyota, and it seems like over the past many years, all these announcements, the investments are around Indianapolis, southern Indiana, nothing up here, which makes me feel like it's because this is like a liberal stronghold, and most of the state's conservative. And you would think if they wanted to maybe squeeze this area, they would bring business up here and make more for people that, oh, look what conservatives did for us. You know what I'm saying?
Well, there's a little bit of that. Now, I will say that we had, shortly before the election in November, we had the Elkhart City Council President, Brian Dickerson, on, who did not win re-election. But he was announcing these hundreds of millions of dollars in business contracts that were just coming through with Elkhart. So Elkhart gets these deals. Mishawaka doesn't get a lot of them. South Bend gets almost none of them. But Elkhart does tend to get them. Now, we'll see what happens going forward with new leadership. Now it's a Democratic council and a Democratic mayor. Hopefully they don't screw that momentum up. I guess we will see. But, it does happen. But we also don't have the resources that Indianapolis has. And I think Indianapolis, you could probably say, is purple or blue. But Indianapolis is also, many would argue, one of the great cities of the U.S., and a lot of people don't realize that until they go there. I've never been there. I'm just going by what people have said. Sure. Indianapolis is naturally going to get a lot of that stuff. And now, he did mention, was it Kokomo is what he said that Fiat was going in?
Yeah, that's where they already have a plant there. They're just expanding. They're just
expanding that plant. Okay. Yeah, I mean, I would love to see more of it here as well. We're really big in manufacturing in this area. So I'm in light manufacturing, but I work with a lot of people who are in big-time manufacturing. And so you basically have two really big hubs for manufacturing, and then you have a third that's emerging. So you've kind of got Texas, and Texas handles everything out west and then kind of up to the Midwest. And then here handles all of that middle of the country. And then as you start pushing east, what is happening is North Carolina is starting to pick up some of that on the east. So we're really big in manufacturing, and I don't think it's as sexy. So I don't think a lot of people, hear about the tool and die stuff, and we hear about RVs and everything. But, is there a lot more potential here than is being used? Certainly.
Well, there's a lot of RV work in Elkhart, but I've been in quality for almost 30 years in this area, manufacturing, and it doesn't seem like there's a lot of better paying jobs. It's okay, it's better than working at the fast food, but, there's a lot of people that can't find people because the RV industry, but they just pay a little bit more than what other people do, so it's not like there's a lot of great jobs up there, and that would be a good boost for this place if somebody came in with better paying jobs with good benefits, because after Obamacare, insurance just went to the south, and so...
Oh, sure. Yeah, insurance is killing people.
Just kind of worse all the way around.
Yeah, insurance is really killing people. And this is, when you hear me talk about South Bend, I'm really hard on South Bend, and I think with good reason, but I really do see potential in South Bend. And I think that we have, with the Michiana area, we've got, nearly 1 million people. We've got all of these people here. There's a lot of people who would not necessarily be educated, but would be really good in trade work. They'd be good in those manufacturing jobs. And we're so close to Chicago and some of the shipping lanes and things like that. It would just make sense. But I think you're right. There's probably a lot of them that look at this area and go, yeah, I'm not really going to go there. They don't have resources. Maybe they look at the school systems in some communities, and the other part is you're looking at the way that the local governments are run, and I don't think there's
the way they market this area for the jobs.
Yeah, I don't know what the promotional aspect is like. I'm not really sure. Jeff Ray probably be the guy to hear about that. But I'll tell you what, you're going to start in the next 5 years. The name Niles, Michigan is going to be a heck of a lot more on the palate of a lot of people. Because Niles they're going full bore. The new mayor of Niles, he's not playing around. And they're going full bore with this legalization thing. And the investment I think that they're going to get with some of the plans that have been on the table for a while now, I think you're going to see Niles really start to emerge as a major influencer here, probably in 5 to 10 years.
Okay. Well, I appreciate you taking my call and
I appreciate it.
Information.
All right. You take care.
Have a good day.
All right. You too. And let's not forget that Jeff Ray is also now he's going to be a part of the Niles chamber as well. So he's kind of heading up that joint chamber between the two. We've got more coming up. News Talk 95.3, Michiana's News Channel.